Boy, I'm starting to feel like Lex Luthor now. Tonight's review is on Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. This movie mostly follows Bruce Wayne, who was in Metropolis as Superman was fighting Zod. He witnessed all of this destruction, and so he now sees Superman as a threat to the human race and wants nothing more than to see him bleed. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor is in the middle of it all with plans to stoke the fire. First of all, in case you've noticed by now the newest merchandise behind me, I don't want anyone to think that I see Batman vs. Superman as like the best movie ever. The reasons that I got the metal figure of Batman and the Gotham Demon drinking bottle were, for one thing, I thought they looked cool, and for another, I honestly believe that Ben Affleck as Batman was the best part of this movie. A lot of people were opposed to the idea of Ben Affleck playing Batman just because he was also in Daredevil, but I mean, what other shitty movies has he been in since then? Argo? Gone Girl? Psh. By the way, for those who couldn't tell, that was sarcasm. I think it's time to forget Ben Affleck's past and move on. But yeah, Ben Affleck made an excellent Batman. He bulked up for the role, he kicked ass, and most importantly, I could buy his anger and his fear all the way through. He exuded Bruce Wayne's tortured soul perfectly. And while Henry Cavill is no Christopher Reeve, I think he plays a good Superman as well. You get the impression that he's just a guy trying to do the right thing. And just as Batman has his reasons for going to war with Superman, Superman has some legitimate reasons to go to war with Batman. I also liked how this movie was able to put in these little moments of heart for each character. Um, I enjoyed the scenes between Superman and the people who are important to him, Lois Lane and Martha Kent, as well as those between Batman and Alfred, who, by the way, is played awesomely by Jeremy Irons. One major concern for me was seeing Gal Gadot in this movie as Wonder Woman. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that I heard she was a supermodel before she entered acting, and the fact that she barely opened her mouth during the trailers didn't exactly bode well. And after seeing her in this movie, I have to say she makes a kick ass Wonder Woman. I can't wait to see her in her own standalone movie. I have to admit, I even enjoyed the little cameos with the Justice League characters aside from Wonder Woman. Were they necessary? Not really, but they were cool to watch, especially the one with Cyborg. This movie also has some damn cool action scenes going for it. When Batman and Superman finally start going toe to toe with each other, it's pretty intense. I didn't think I'd be so concerned for Superman's life. Unfortunately, this is where my first issue with the movie comes in. For a movie called Batman vs. Superman, there wasn't enough Batman vs. Superman going on. Instead, we get this intense build up to a big fight scene, and then the fight scene happens, and it's over. And hey, it's Doomsday. Everyone wanted to see Doomsday in this movie, right? It's clear to see that Doomsday was an unnecessary addition to the story, but I'd be lying if I said that I didn't enjoy the fight scenes with him. The part of my brain that wanted a good story was saying no, but the part of my brain that enjoys big explosive action scenes was saying yes. And after we'd gotten to see both Batman and Superman in action, it was great to see Wonder Woman kicking some ass in that scene. So, in spite of myself, I know you're probably gonna hate me for this, but I'm gonna let Doomsday slide. But you know what I'm not gonna let slide? Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Everyone said that he was going to suck, and they were right. I will admit that he is amusing in parts, I think, and there were even a couple of fleeting moments where I could see potential for a villain that I'd love to hate, but for the most part, he just got on my nerves. Um, they even try to excuse his behavior in this movie by making him a junior, Lex Luthor's son. So, what else can you expect out of Lex Luthor's kid? Maybe a villain that I could take more seriously? Gene Hackman playing a campy Lex Luthor was okay with me due to the fact that the older films had that more lighthearted feel for them. But given that this is a more dark and serious universe, this eccentric, over the top little weirdo didn't exactly fit in. Batman vs. Superman is a flawed movie for sure, but for the way that it portrays its heroes as well as some beautifully shot action scenes, I have to say I enjoyed it overall. Whether or not I would recommend it is hard to say though, because as is the case with Man of Steel, it's a fairly polarizing film. I've even heard that there are people who hated Man of Steel who saw this movie and liked it, so whether or not this movie is your cup of tea is something you'll never know unless you give it a chance. And that's all I've got to say about this movie. I hope you all have a good one. It's good to be back.